For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise. And you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in on your favorite podcast app. Glad to have you with us for the next 30 minutes, and I'm not sure if you heard, but Queen Elizabeth has passed away. Now, there's a dramatic pause there. I don't know if you've heard this already. No, I'm being a dick. And I mean, that's really the story that's gripping the globe. I mean, you know, when it comes to stories in the news that are affecting, I mean, you have Princess Diana, you have 9/11, which coincidentally we're a couple days away from. You have, I guess, the Ukraine, Russia thing that's happening. There's not very many stories in the world that affect almost everybody in the world. Now, you have to remember that, yes, the Queen was only the, head of state or the monarch, however you call it, for, a dozen or so countries, right? But every world leader knows her or has met with her or has, even Putin chimed in. Speaking of Russia, I mean, even Putin gave, this glowing statement about her. Trump gave a glowing statement about her. And I mean, and quite a lengthy statement. Now, I've got to tell you, and I'm not knocking the president, but I believe that it was written for him. I'm just guessing on this one because it was I was actually quite surprised. I was like, wow, we've never really seen him in recent memory. I mean, he will give sort of a glowing, tweet or something, which is, 140 characters, whatever it was. I mean, this was paragraphs of a statement. So I was quite impressed with that. But anyway, we're going to take a break. We'll talk about this whole Queen Elizabeth thing and how my day played out, because I think I actually might have a throat infection from it. But those details are coming up on The Scribble, and it starts right after this.
This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. No offense, but are you a little fat when you look in the mirror? How would you like to learn the secret to losing 3 to 5 pounds a week without joining the gym or going through any crazy diets? It's called Body Sculpt RX. For the last 2 decades, we've helped countless people lose thousands of pounds. And now, it's your turn. Learn how to lose weight with one simple phone call and no prescription needed. You'll see an amazing difference in a matter of days. Don't believe us? We'll offer you a risk-free money-back guarantee. So, if you're ready to start losing weight, call right now and get a free month supply with your first order of Body Sculpt RX. Call now. You have nothing to lose but the pounds. 800-459-6838. 800-459-6838. 800-459-6838. That's 800-459-6838.
JB here, back on the show, just talking about the life of Queen Elizabeth. Now, here's the deal. I wasn't a royal watcher. I didn't really know much about the royal family, being the Canadian that I am. Obviously, now, and I think a lot of Americans are just kind of understanding how this whole Queen thing works for us. It's not that we necessarily worship her. It's not that we, literally bow down. Like, that's not quite exactly how it works. But I got the notification. I got the news alert on my phone. Now, I'm not talking news alert from like TMZ or CNN. We have an actual newswire service that our media company subscribes to. And so one of my 3 cell phones that I have one of them is just this. And so when I've talked about on this show before that there's no phones in my bedroom, technically that's a lie. This one phone that we have is beside the bed. Actually, it's across the room on a table, but adjacent to the bed. And it's the newswire phone. Because my job as an entertainment reporter for many radio stations, is that something happens, who do they turn to? Now, I'm fortunate that our top 40 stations don't generally have somebody in the middle of the night, and it's very rare that I would have to jump in and start doing reporting at 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning. But certainly, if there's something that happens at 6 in the morning and the morning shows are on the air, yes, JB would have to do that. So anyway, point is that at about 5:30 or 6 o'clock or so in the morning on Thursday, and there's a very distinct sound that this phone notification will make, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, shit, here we go. What is it? And then I'm kind of like, ooh, this could be bad. Now, you have to remember that these stories come across on the newswire we get it at the same time that CNN would get it, that any of the major networks would get it, any of those. We're subscribed to the same thing they are. And so I see it before they go and blast out the headline, right? Because a lot of times, and there's different, depending on how the newsroom is set up, you will have different color coding as to, what this news alert is. And it could be, red or orange or whatever it might be. And so for the palace, for Buckingham Palace, or to have this statement come out for us in North America early in the morning, for those folks over there across the pond in England, early afternoon, it's kind of jarring because you don't sort of get a statement like that, as you already heard all of the different newscasters say at this point. So for me, I was kind of like, well, I'm not jumping in as a news reporter. Like, I'm not going to be jumping in and saying, she died at this time, That's not my job. My job, as weird as it sounds, is to come in as the entertainment reporter now and talk about how the celebrities are responding to it. So I'm kind of like 3 or 4 steps down the ladder. I'm not, we go now to Jeremy Bradley, who's got more on the death of the Queen. No. I'm doing the stuff that's coming like an hour and a half, 2 hours later. After the actual news stuff is broken, now it's like, now we get reaction from the entertainment world. Here's our, correspondent, Jeremy Bradley, JB. What are the celebrities saying? And then that's where I come in. So I don't want to make it seem like here I am taking over for Lester Holt and Anderson Cooper or whoever and giving the story. That's not my job at all. No. But certainly, for my perspective, and being on more than one station as I am, we've got, 13 or 15 radio stations that I do entertainment reports for. We've now got to figure this out and go, well, they're all going to be reporting on the same thing at the same time. I'm going to have to kind of do this one at this time and then 7 minutes later do this one. So we had a lot of coordinating to do. So the way this plays out is I get the notifications and I'm kind of like, oh shit, here we go. Let's get the ball rolling here. Because it's so early in the morning, I'm not a morning person. I'm going to be groggy. They're not going to have me driving. So a car comes to my house. I'm not even kidding you guys. And I'm not making it sound like, here I am hosting the Today Show and I've got my chauffeur. They send a car to me. Yes, with snacks, with sugary snacks inside. This is absolutely true. They're like, okay, we've got to get Jeremy over to the office. So we'll send the car, we'll have the car go and get snacks from the store, from the convenience store, donuts, whatever it is. We'll get him some, Pepsi. Let's get him revved up at 6:30 in the morning. He's going to come in because you have to remember, and I think I've talked about this on the show as well, my normal wake-up time is 10:30 in the morning. So when you hear my entertainment headlines, the entertainment wrap-up, when you're hearing that at 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm still asleep at home because we pre-taped that the night before. I'm letting you in on a secret here. I'm spilling all the beans today, everybody. But yes, so I'm kind of like, they say, the car will be there at like 6:37 in the morning, blah, blah, blah. We'll get you in. Our producers, we've got segment writers, we're working from home, and then they'll be working on that. We'll all converge at like 9:30, because you have to remember at this time of the day, the Queen is still alive. Well, we don't know, I guess. We don't know if she's alive or dead. So we're preparing for that because we're judging by the other news outlets who are bringing in their anchors. I know from just the plans about the broadcasts and how things were going to go, is that the anchors are going to be wearing black. So when I see the person who is the late night or the evening news, the late night news anchor on our public broadcaster, the CBC, Adrienne Arsenault, when I see her in the morning on the TV hosting the news and she's wearing a black jacket, I was kind of like, okay, I think I have an idea where this is going. Now, we also knew that they would not make the announcement until at least most of the family was there. And so now, us being Central Time in Canada, where we are, we were going on at about 9 o'clock. So I'm making the call as I'm our top producer of our content. So I'm sitting here going, we know they're not going to announce the death until everybody is there. Now, we later then heard that Prince Harry was not there, or the Harry formerly known as Prince, I guess, because he, relinquished his... Anyway, so I said, okay, at least we've got a couple of hours to kind of figure this out. We know that the British celebrities, right? So you're going to have your Paul McCartneys, your Elton Johns, your... Sharon and Ozzy Osbourne, your Piers Morgan, definitely. I mean, if you follow him, you know that he's all about the Queen. So we know these people are going to be reacting very quickly, if not breaking the news themselves, right? Piers Morgan is, he's going to have that news almost instantly as well. So we're going to be watching for these people. The news, in North America will be just as big, and there's even more celebrities here. So we know that we're going to be following these people. Who do we think? And you just don't know, right? You know that everybody's going to flock to Twitter. You know that. It's a matter of, when and what they say. So, it's also impossible to follow every single celebrity, right? But we kind of have those, the outspoken ones. We knew that Bette Midler, Cher, any of the news anchors or journalists would. Certainly the British ones, as I talked about. And so that's where we're going to have this, figured out. We're going to have the scheduling if this happens. And I've got to go on the radio with the stations. So... to be up that early in the morning, first off, and to have a very sugary breakfast, which, again, I don't eat breakfast because I'm not up that early, and we're kind of rejigging our normal day anyway. Throughout a regular Thursday, our writers, our producers are going through the entertainment headlines anyway, so it's kind of... That's sort of the news business as it is. You don't really necessarily know what you're going to be talking about. Yes, we had something about, I think it was Nicolas Cage had a child, and then there was something about Wendy Williams, and, just sort of... not filler stories, but we didn't really have anything big in the morning anyway. So we have those on the back burner. We drop those as necessary as things happen throughout the day. We might even use them on a Friday or a Monday morning or something if it hasn't been a very busy celebrity weekend. And all of a sudden then, just before, I guess, noon or something local time, we get the notification on our news alerts. And then it's also kind of fascinating to see because, again, we get that the same time as the newsrooms across the world do. So, there's a bit of a delay in some instances of, 3 or 4 minutes. Sometimes they'll go right away. So that's kind of fascinating, too, when we've got our TVs on all over the office and we know what's coming, right? We're like, okay, let's see, who's going to do this first. And then they all kind of start doing it at the same time. And then throughout the day, we've got the tweets that are happening. I'm jumping into different stations, in Arizona and Oklahoma and, wherever else, and Utah and a couple other places in British Columbia as well. And then by mid-afternoon, I'm just exhausted because, I'm basically saying the same thing over and over again. And then later in the afternoon, I feel like I've got either strep throat or there's something that's happened with my voice. And I was just like, holy crap, this is just crazy. Now, and I'm certainly not I'm not the star of this. I'm just kind of giving you the insight as to what happens sort of in even just a news outlet and how things play out. And then it wasn't until I was kind of off the radio in the afternoon where that's where, you have to kind of step aside. When you're the reporter, you're giving the facts, you're talking, but you don't really have that personal feeling or that unless you're asked about it, which that wasn't necessarily the case when I was doing the radio hits. And it wasn't until things kind of calmed down. The news is the news at that point, right? This isn't... With Princess Diana, again, it was a little bit different where that's a developing story where it's what happened? This, that. With the Queen, she was... the family was coming. It was just that. Diana was a little bit more of drama because that was going to be a tabloid story as to what happened. The Queen's passing wasn't as dramatic, and you know what I mean by dramatic, right? It was sad, of course, but 96-year-old woman, and there you go. So the Diana thing obviously was playing out for hours and hours and hours, and we saw that in Canada and especially in the United States as well. They maybe had 3, 4, 5 hours of nonstop coverage. And then they kind of just threw in the towel of well, here we talked with this person earlier. We talked with this person earlier. Because everybody's statements had already come out. What else can you say, right? The news it's done now. And there you go. You know, we weren't sure what the Canadian TV networks would do in the evening. Are they going to run their regular... You have to realize that the Canadian TV networks in prime time are generally running American programming anyway. So would they jump in and take over and have the Canadian, you know, news? Would they have specials? What would they do? So there was kind of that. But yeah, I mean, by late afternoon, it was kind of like, okay, well, the news is done. So that was when I took a moment to kind of sit there and go, you know, as a Canadian, I'm not a royal watcher. I don't know too much about the Queen. I knew that she had come to Canada about 20 times. 22, I guess, was the later, or 23, once as princess. So 22 is Queen, 1 is princess. And, you know, she's on our money. She's on our passport. She's on, you know, there's pictures of her in government buildings. I don't go to very many government buildings, but I know that they're there. You know, at the hockey arena in my hometown, there was a giant portrait. I mean, we're talking like massive picture. I think it was a painting, if I'm not mistaken, of her. Painting or whatever it was a picture of her, and was massive. And I remember that being a big deal when they took it down in the arena. And it, you know, it was just, she's kind of, it's going to sound so disrespectful. I don't mean it that way. But she's kind of in your face. You know, she's on the stamps, and she's, you know, just kind of there. And so I remember when it first happened in the morning or early afternoon, I didn't really have that. But it was kind of like, yeah, it's just sort of weird. I don't really know anything other than having her around like that. You know, again, she wasn't really hands-on in Canada. It's not like she's commanding, you know, what happens, or because that's not the role. That's not how it was. But she's just there. Do you know what I mean? Like it's kind of weird. I don't know of any places in Canada that sing, you know, God Save the Queen. Like I think that was a back in the day kind of a thing. I don't know of anybody doing that modern. I don't think in schools, because I don't know that you can do the whole God thing anymore. But certainly, well, I mean, Oh Canada has the word God in it, so I mean, I guess maybe it does. I'd have to talk to somebody. I've got several family members who work in schools, but I don't know. I haven't heard it. It's certainly not something that's, you know, sung at sporting events. It's not anything, you know, that's more of a British thing. That's more, you know, United Kingdom. But yeah, I mean, just sort of the influence of the Queen is just sort of everywhere. So that was when I was kind of like, yeah, I guess it's kind of weird now. Not necessarily the whole King Charles thing, because here's the deal. My husband is British and his name is Charles. Or sorry, he's Brazilian. He's not British. All right, let me restart that. My husband is Brazilian and his name is Charles. And so he was making jokes already like, no, the original King Charles is right here. And I was like, okay, here we go, Daddy. Let's not turn this into, you know, sexual whatever. Like, let's just, you know. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be just different things now. And so we'll see. I mean, I don't want to say that I'm sad. I guess what it does is it takes me back to, you know, my grandma who passed away at 92. Oh God, now I don't even, she was 92 or 93 anyway. Now, you know, she had corona and was in a nursing home, and I wasn't allowed to see her for the, you know, 6 months. Wait a second. So corona started, I guess, in March really of when they shut down the nursing home. And then she died in like October or November. So I hadn't seen her. And the nursing home was not even 5 minutes away from my house in Winnipeg. You know, I was literally that close to her, and I could not see her. So everybody was kind of making this big deal about, you know, well, Prince Harry didn't get to see her before. And I thought, you know what, fuck that. Yes, I get that, you know, she's the queen, but a grandma is a grandma is a grandma. So I'm not, you know, but, you know, for everybody it was like, oh, it was so tragic that Prince Harry didn't get to, for months, mine was, you know, suffering for 2 weeks that she wasn't around it. She had dementia. She didn't even know where she was. She doesn't know what's happening. I feel, you know, more sorry for somebody in a position like that. So I'm not turning this into a pity party about my life. I'm just saying that it took me back to kind of that, you know, when my grandma died, and that was sort of a little bit emotional for me. So you know, it's sad because people will mix the whole thing about the Queen and her role in the institution, and then the Queen is the person. And so that's where I was kind of like, yeah, she's, you know, 96. She's still a person. She's still a great-grandma, grandma, mom, you know, sister, you know, aunt, whatever. And that's the deal. you can go back to the whole royal family is racist and they were mean to Meghan, whatever. But when you think about it, and I think even from what Harry and Meghan had said, that it wasn't the Queen that was the racist one or whatever. I mean, she was the one who was, welcoming or what have you. And so I think that that's where there's that separation of, the Queen and then kind of what the institution or the monarch or however you want, or the Commonwealth, you describe it. So that's the thing. And again, was I sad for, the country or whatever? No, because I don't know that Canadians are really that big into it. Yes, there's going to be the royal watchers, more of an older generation. That's me giving a generalization, but really that's kind of what it is. I certainly don't know any teenagers or early 20-year-olds who are, rah, the Queen. And that's just the reality, right? So, people like my parents who, they're tuning into something like that because it's of interest to them. My parents in their 60s. So, but, were my teenage nephews, maybe, I guess they would be in school. Perhaps, schools were tuning in and I would hope that they would, because that's definitely a history lesson. You want to know about your country and what the relation is to England and to the Queen and to now Charles, right? So, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out over the next little while. We don't know, at least right now, what the plans are for Canada. We know about the 10 days of mourning. We know that, all that kind of stuff has to happen. Everybody's speculating there's going to be, a holiday in Canada and, or are we going to have everything kind of, shut down? What's going to happen? And, we're going to see. We've never gone through this, as everybody has been saying on the news yesterday and again this morning. So yeah, it's a little bit strange, and it's kind of shell shocking because you realistically you all know this is going to happen. I mean, but and a lot of people were saying, but it almost felt like this wouldn't happen to her because she's gone through everything and she's had such a a great long and storied life. So there you go. And it's just so cliche to ask you, but I'd love to hear your thoughts about where you were when you heard the news, because I was later in the day when I finally did get home and kind of calm down. We've also had some stuff happening in our family with one of my relatives, and so I checked in with my cousin, and so she's wanting to talk again more, and she works in an office, and I said, so here's the typical question, like, where were you? And she said, it's kind of interesting because everybody gets like the same news alert on their phone from, CNN or NBC or, TMZ or whatever it is. And then she's like, I think everybody tries to be the first person to know, because then you'll hear somebody go, oh my God, the Queen died. The Queen's dead. And it's like everybody kind of turns into this news outlet. And I said to her, it's kind of funny because that's the same thing like on Oscar night or the Emmys that are coming up. If you have, TweetDeck or, a Twitter feed going, you'll see that as soon as somebody wins, Meryl Streep, I don't know, I'm just making up a name, Meryl Streep won for such and such, everybody is suddenly reporting it. Everybody becomes a news outlet on Oscar night or Emmy night or whatever it is. And same thing with the Queen's death. I mean, my Twitter, we've got a big screen of Twitter going, and it was just rapid fire. Like, you couldn't even read them. The tweets were literally scrolling so quickly that it was like, what did that say? Wait, was that a so-and-so? Who was that? Was that a celebrity? Was that a politician? Who was that? Go back to that. And we just couldn't keep track. And so that's where my cousin was saying, she's like, yeah, everybody in the office was just like, did you hear? Oh my God, the Queen's dead. And then everybody then jumps to their phones, computers, and starts to search. So, that's her memory of it. But send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. And if you didn't hear the news, breaking news, the Queen has passed away at 96 years old. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on the Scribble, and I'll be back with more right after this.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Listen up, guys. Are you experiencing any of the following? Fatigue, less drive, poor performance? If so, you may be one of the nearly 30 million men in the U.S. today dealing with ED. But did you know you don't have to pay hundreds for a prescription anymore? And you don't have to deal with the hassle of seeing the doctor or the embarrassment of going to the pharmacy for a certain pill. Now with one free call, you can find out how Herbal Virility Max can help you feel like a man again. For over a decade, Herbal Virility Max has helped guys just like you put a smile back on their face with improved performance and drive. Call today and ask about our buy one, get one free offer. Save the money, save the hassles, and get the better blue pill. Dial 800-578-0179. That's 800-578-0179. 800-578-0179.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Are you in bad pain? You know what I mean. Your knees hurt, your shoulder hurts, and your back. Oh my God, your back. They're constantly killing you. And I'm sure you've tried every pain pill or cream available at the drugstore, am I right? Well, here is something you haven't tried. Pain Absolve. Pain Absolve is not available in any drugstore. The only way to get it is by calling today. We're so confident that it will work for you that we offer a free bottle with your purchase, no prescription needed, and best of all, each purchase comes with a money-back guarantee. Call now to find out how you can get Pain Absolve and get rid of your pain. Call 800-319-0582. That's 800-319-0582. 800-319-0582. Call today, 800-319-0582.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble in our final remaining moments. The Emmys are... let's just recap everything else that's happening. Okay, so we've got the Emmys coming up Monday night on NBC. We've got the Bachelorette finale Tuesday, right? Because they moved for football, I believe it is. We've got Sherry Shepherd and her controversial new daytime talk show replacing Wendy Williams starting on Monday. Jennifer Hudson's new daytime talk show begins Monday on, is it Fox stations? Or I think she's on some ABC stations as well. Anyway, check out those. So, people are going to be very critical, especially of Sherry Shepherd on the new show because, people are calling for a boycott because they believe that Wendy was done dirty. And Wendy and I guess Nick Cannon was also calling for a boycott. Nick Cannon's talk show lasted, 6 months? And I've been saying, Sherry was on the radio with me many years ago when she was back on The View. And I said this when they announced that she was getting her own show. I said, if Nick Cannon can't last more than 6 months on the show, I don't know. But again, Wendy was also on at the same, or Wendy's show was on at the same time. That's where their money was. They were kind of focused on that. So I think that now that Nick's off the air, that they're going to pump some money, and they'll give Sherry a fighting chance. But Jennifer Hudson, I kind of saw the previews and asking do you want to make a teacher's dream come true? Do you know somebody who needs? I'm like, ugh. So they're now just taking everything. Okay, we've got Jennifer Hudson who people like, and then we'll give her a talk show, and then we'll do the daytime thing. But people don't equate that. You don't think, oh, okay, this song's just this, Tony winner, this Oscar winner is going to do that. Anyway, we're out of time. My name's Jeremy Bradley, The Scribble. Talk to you next
Want
time.
more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some